y'all, it's Erin. It's that time again, fitness Q&A video. The first question comes from Denise. She asks, how do you deal with the fatigue and the ugly duckling phase of competing? Like when you feel your body isn't responding as others are. Well, Denise, as far as the fatigue goes, make sure you're getting enough rest and getting enough calories, even if you're trying to drop weight or drop fat. And then as far as the ugly duckling phase, where you feel like you're not getting anywhere, I know it happens to a lot of us, and I go through weeks where I feel like I haven't seen any changes and I've reached a plateau. Progress pictures are very, very important, as are measurements. So you can compare your weekly pictures and your weekly measurements side by side, and you can see those changes on paper even though you might not see them on your body. The other thing too is to make sure with the fatigue that you're not restricting yourself too much and causing your body to plateau. So you might need to increase your carbs on, say, leg day, or maybe take a couple of days off. So don't be afraid to really mix it up, and you'll continue to see changes. The next question comes from Ashley. She asks, how many times a week do you do high-intensity training compared to moderate cardio? And what types of high-intensity training do you like to do? Well, Ashley, I'll do 2 to 3 times a week of high-intensity training, and that does vary, between seasons. Right now I'm training for track meets, so I'm doing sprints, and then I'll do a little bit of high-intensity cross-training at the gym to try to save my legs. And favorite high-intensity stuff at the gym would be doing hills, holding dumbbells on the treadmill, and then doing sprints on the elliptical. And the elliptical is kind of the closest thing that I've found to running, and it will save your legs, if you have shin splints or feet problems. And as far as outside stuff, I go to 8 200s, 10 100s, shorter days of 1050s. I'll do stadiums, really just mix it up, but 2 times a week, maybe 3 times a week. And then as far as moderate, low intensity cardio, I really don't do it. I might go for a walk once or twice a week just to kind of clear my head. So hopefully that helps. The next question comes from John. He asks, have you noticed any difference in your training based on the time of day you train? Morning versus afternoon, afternoon versus evening? Does the time you train affect your eating regimen? Yes, I do notice a difference in my training based on time of day. I like to train in the afternoon because I feel like I have my wits about me a little bit more. In the morning I feel like I'm not as awake, but in the morning I'm stronger. So it's kind of, if I can make it to the gym in the morning, I know that I'll probably do really well with lifting, heavier. And then as far as the nutrition goes, I try to make sure I get carbs and protein about an hour to an hour and a half before I train, and then fast digesting carbs and protein right after I train. And then if I'm doing leg day and I know it's later on in the day, I'll try to increase my carbs a little bit just so I have the energy to get through that workout, especially in the off season. And then after a leg day, I might go and get frozen yogurt or something just to help me with my strength. Strength. That's it. The next question comes from Rita. She asks, how do you restrict your carbs and your sodium 1 week out? Do you carb load the night before? And if so, how much? Well, Rita, this is different for each person, but I do cut my carbs the week before a show, and I will carb load about 2 days before I'm on stage. So not necessarily the night before. I found that I'm still flat if I get on stage and I've only given myself a few hours to take in carbs. As far as the sodium, I never cut sodium until 2 days out, and simply because I want to have something to manipulate by the time I get on stage. If you cut your sodium a week out, your body is going to adjust, and you'll still hold just as much water as if you didn't cut sodium. And that's just what I found, that's what works for me. And I would say give it a try before your contest and see if it works for you. Alla asks, what foods do you avoid when cutting or leaning down? This is another topic that differs from person to person. I would say to eliminate the foods that might give you trouble. And I've talked about this in previous videos where you cut out your wheat, cut out dairy, cut out nitrates, processed foods, some legumes even like peanuts and things that are harder to digest, and add in one of those each week. And if it gives you trouble, then you might want to avoid it. For me, whenever I'm trying to lean down, I definitely avoid any processed foods and nitrates and things. If it comes in a box, I try not to eat it unless it's a rice cake. And then I definitely cut out wheat and dairy, and I don't usually eat that even in the off season unless it's frozen yogurt. But yeah, hopefully that helps. Just try to keep it simple when you're cutting down, and try to eat one ingredient, unprocessed foods. And hopefully that helps. So that's it for questions this week. Till next week, train hard, y'all.